All right, so get ready, because today we're diving into something pretty interesting. This whole idea that people, well, we tend to value things more when we actually pay for them, even if the content itself, is exactly the same.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird thing with our brains, like the psychology of it all, the price tag can totally change how we see something.
It really can. And this whole thing, this deep dive, it all started with a listener. They got super fired up about this YouTuber, Dan Carishu, and his comedy special, Holiday Homework. They loved it when they
Yeah.
saw it live. But then, get this, when it went up on YouTube for free, they thought it was like the worst thing ever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They even went on this whole rant about Dan Carishu, saying he just made like terrible content. It's almost like they felt betrayed that it was free.
It's kind of funny when you think about it. But it makes sense if you consider this thing called the sunk cost fallacy.
The what fallacy?
Sunk cost fallacy. It's like this, bias we have
Oh, okay.
where we have to justify the stuff we've already spent money on.
You mean like even if it wasn't that great?
Exactly. Like in this case, buying the ticket to the live show.
Ah, I see. So our listener, they might have gotten caught in that trap. They paid for the live show, so they had to find it funny, even if the jokes weren't all that.
It happens. Plus, that live audience energy, that can be super contagious.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone's laughing, you're all together, and maybe you even feel like you should be laughing because, you paid to be there,
Right.
so you end up enjoying it more. But then when you watch it alone on YouTube, it's like all that's gone.
It's just the jokes,
Exactly.
which maybe don't hold up as well.
Could be.
Okay, that makes sense. But let's actually look at what the listener had a problem with.
Mhm.
They specifically called out the income tax debt raid bit. And the Biko birthday jokes, they thought those were super repetitive.
Yeah.
And that long skit, the one about the PMSing insurance, they didn't like that either. What do you think? Do you think those bits actually bombed? Or was it just, the change in setting?
Well, humor, it's so subjective, right?
Yeah, true.
What's hilarious to one person can be totally cringy to someone else.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I think it's safe to say that the context, like where and when you hear a joke, that plays a huge role in how effective it is.
For sure.
A live setting, that can make even an okay joke funnier.
How so?
Well, you've got the performer's energy, the audience's reactions.
Right, you feed off of each other.
Yeah, and that feeling of being in on the joke together.
It's like those inside jokes with your friends. They might not be funny to anyone else,
Yeah.
but they have this special meaning.
Exactly. And when you take that humor out of that setting, it can totally fall flat.
So maybe it wasn't that Dan Carishu's material was bad, but more like it just worked better in that specific context.
I think that's a really good point. It reminds us that how much we enjoy anything, whether it's comedy or music or even food, really. It's all about the environment and the situation.
Yeah. I never thought of it like that. Okay, so we've looked at how this sunk cost fallacy thing
Hmm.
and that whole live experience, they might have made the special scene better than it was. But our listener, they send us some other stuff too. There's this transcript. It's called Holiday Homework, Dank Rishu, and Arpit Bala. And it talks about this Garjamai. His name is Rajiv.
Karjamai. What's that?
It's like this guy. He lives with his wife's family and becomes like part of their household.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, this Rajiv Av guy, he brags about his home gym, which turns out to be just like his courtyard.
Really?
Yeah. And get this, his meditation routine. It's just him smoking cigarettes.
Oh, wow. That's not very zen.
Right. It's so ridiculous.
I wonder if our listener found him funny because of, have you heard of Schadenfreude?
Shot in what?
Schadenfreude.
I don't think so.
It's basically like this guilty pleasure we get from seeing other people mess up,
Oh, I know what you mean.
especially when, their flaws are super obvious and exaggerated.
So we're laughing at Rajiv
Ah.
because he doesn't really know what a home gym is or how to actually meditate.
Yeah, maybe. His portrayal is so over the top, it might make us feel, well, a little superior,
Okay.
which can be funny.
Interesting. So maybe we find Rajiv funny because it's like, thank goodness I'm not him.
Could be. It's a weird part of humor, right?
Totally.
We laugh at things that make us feel better about ourselves.
Makes sense. All right, let's look at this last transcript. This one's called Excerpts from the Video Raz Puchel Janam Ka. It's about this past life regression show.
Past life regression on TV.
Yeah. And there's this guy, Vivian, who just keeps giving these totally confusing answers.
Like what?
Oh, it's wild. Like, they ask him what he sees,
Right.
and he'll just blurt out random things like Nigeria Or talk about wearing sandals made of water bottles.
Seriously.
Yeah, it was like he wasn't even trying.
That's hilarious.
I know, right? You're expecting like some deep spiritual stuff. And you get Nigeria.
And water bottle sandals.
Exactly. The host was getting so frustrated. But I bet our listener was cracking up.
I can see why. Humor often comes from, the unexpected.
Like a plot twist.
Yeah, like when you hear a punchline and it just throws you off guard.
Like Vivian's answers.
Totally. He probably ruined the whole serious vibe of the show.
Yeah. And made it accidentally funny.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got these three very different examples. Dank Rishu's special, the Garjamai Rajev, and the past life regression thing. But do you see any, connections between them? Anything that goes back to that idea of, paid content being better?
That's a good question. Let's see. Well, the content is super different. But there is this thing with context. It keeps popping up, It shapes how much we enjoy things.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
Well, think about the live show. That whole paid aspect, that investment the listener made, it might have changed how they saw the jokes.
Yeah. Made them funnier?
Maybe, yeah.
Like our brains are tricking us, trying to make us feel like we didn't waste our money.
Exactly. And then you've got Rajev, where the humor, it could be coming from that schadenfreude.
Oh, right.
That feeling of haha, glad I'm not that guy.
Superiority.
Yeah, exactly.
And then with Vivian, it was all about the unexpected. You think it's going to be one thing, and then bam.
Totally different.
So are you saying that maybe our listener didn't find Dank Rishu funny on YouTube simply because it was free?
It's possible.
They didn't have that sunk cost thing. No feeling of being better than Rajev. Nothing surprising like with Vivian.
It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, how much we enjoy something. Especially comedy. It's rarely objective.
Right.
Our biases get in the way.
Yeah.
Our expectations and the context. It all plays a role.
Wow. This is making me think about all those times I've defended something I bought.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't that happy with it.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I convinced myself
Yeah.
that this super expensive coffee is amazing.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to admit I wasted money.
We all do that. It's
Yeah.
we want to believe we made the right choice.
Yeah, totally.
And it shows how much value is really about our perception, not necessarily about the actual quality.
That's deep. Okay, so we've talked about how the price can affect things, but before we finish up, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, the whole context thing. You were saying the audience plays a big part.
Oh, for sure.
What else about the context matters?
Well, shared experiences like inside jokes or references to current events. Even the physical environment can make a difference.
Really?
Think about it. A comedy club versus a library.
Oh, yeah. Totally different vibes.
Right.
It's like that saying, comedy is tragedy plus time.
I like that one.
Sometimes a joke is funny just because of when and where it's told.
Timing is everything in comedy.
Yeah.
A well-placed pause, a glance.
Ooh, yeah.
Those little things can take a joke to the next level.
And we can't forget about delivery.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about stand-up comedians. They're so good at reading the room.
Yeah.
The same joke told by two different people.
Totally different impact.
So, going back to our listener,
Mm-hmm.
and their whole rant about Dank Rishu, maybe the jokes they loved live, they just didn't work on YouTube.
Yeah, it happens.
Not that the jokes were bad, but they lost something.
They lost that context,
Right.
the energy of the crowd, that shared experience, the way the comedian feeds off the audience. All of that's gone online.
And without it.
The jokes might have felt flat or repetitive, even cringy.
Oh, right. That's what our listener said. So maybe that sunk cost thing, it made the special seem better at first. But then taking away the context, that's what explains why they were disappointed with the YouTube version.
I think you've got it. It's a good reminder that how much we enjoy anything, it's shaped by so many things we might not even realize.
This has been a wild ride. I feel like I'm looking at everything differently now.
Me too. It's made us think about how we decide what's valuable
Yeah.
and how powerful context can be.
Powerful is right. So listener, as you go through all this paid and free stuff out there, remember to think about those biases, question those assumptions, and don't forget about the power of context.
Here's a final thought. It's a bit of a brain teaser.
Ooh, I like brain teasers.
Imagine two pieces of content. One is a professional documentary. You have to pay to watch it. The other is a bunch of amateur videos covering the same stuff, but they're free on YouTube.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
You watch both. Which one would you tell your friend to watch?
Ooh, that's tough.
It makes you think about not just what you enjoyed, but what you think is valuable for other people.
Do you go with the fancy documentary? Or the videos made with, like, passion, but maybe not as high quality?
Exactly. What's more important?
All right, listener, we're turning it over to you. Which one would you recommend? And why?
What does your choice say about what you value?
Let us know. This has been awesome.
Mm.
You know, what's funny, that whole question about the documentary versus the YouTube videos, it makes you think about why we recommend things in the first place.
Mm.
Is it really just about how good it is? Or are we trying to, like, impress people,
Oh, totally.
show off our good taste?
There's definitely a social side to it.
Right.
We want to share things that make us look good,
Yeah.
like make us seem interesting.
Exactly. It's like, if I tell you about this amazing expensive restaurant, I might be secretly bragging that I can afford it.
Yeah, I think you're right. We connect price with, like, prestige.
Oh, that's interesting.
So if we recommend something pricey,
Mhm.
we're kind of boosting our own status.
It's like saying, hey, look at me. I have good taste. I can afford the good stuff.
Exactly. And that brings us back to, what we were talking about before, perceived value.
Yeah.
Sometimes the price tag itself, it becomes part of why we like something.
Mm.
It's not just about how much we enjoy it. It's also about how we present ourselves to others.
It's all connected, isn't it? The price, the context,
Yeah.
the whole social thing with recommendations. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah. A really interesting one.
And the more we learn about it,
Mm-hmm.
the better choices we can make, right?
Absolutely.
Not just as, like, shoppers, but as people.
It's all about awareness.
Couldn't agree more. So, listener, keep questioning things, keep exploring, and keep diving deep. We'll see you on our next adventure.